This meeting is being recorded.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Adam Linneman. I am the Green Executive with the Landscape Industry Consulting Firm. I have Leslie Tolliver. Leslie, am I pronouncing your last name correctly? Tolliver?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, Tolliver, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, I have Leslie with us here today. Leslie is a HR professional and consultant. We've recently used her in our own landscaping company as a referral for updating our policy manual and our employee handbook. And I invited Leslie on today to talk to all of us a little bit more about the importance of a employee handbook and policy manual and why you should have one in your landscaping business. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Leslie to introduce herself a little bit further. And she has some slides to go through. And then at the very end, we will open it up to some Q&A that Leslie hopefully will be able to help us answer. And if you have any questions for me as well about my landscaping company, particularly with what we do in our HR part of our business and our policy manual, by all means, feel free to ask questions there as well. But I'm going to go turn it over to Leslie. Leslie, the webinar is all yours.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Adam. Thanks for such a warm welcome. I think I want to listen to myself after that introduction. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Currently, while I'm going through the presentation, I will have my camera off. It's just easier for me in terms of concentration and hopefully in terms of concentration for you as well to focus on the outline. And then once we get to the end, I will certainly turn the camera on. But thank you so much for joining us this morning. Adam, thank you so much for the invitation. As Adam said, my name is Leslie Tolliver. I bring greetings from the middle of America. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. I practiced law for about 15 years, decided that I wanted to do something a little different, landed in human resources, worked for a few corporations, and now I am providing consulting services for small businesses and nonprofits. And so today's presentation is just on the importance of an employee handbook, how it helps to fireproof your HR office. And so this is a quote that I've often lived by. It is protect what you've earned, right? So just imagine you've spent your years building your organization. You don't have policies, procedures, or a handbook in place. Someone is injured, something happens, someone quits. I mean, there's so many different scenarios that can happen while running a business. And then, but you don't kind of have a map for what you need to do or what should have been done. And you don't have a way of really mitigating any type of potential exposure or damages because you don't have a handbook or you don't have an acknowledgement from an employee that they knew what they should or shouldn't be doing or could or couldn't do. And so I think that this is appropriate not only as small business owners, but just in life in general, and protecting what we've earned. We have auto insurance, we have homeowners insurance, we have renters insurance. Having a handbook is sort of like insurance for both you and your employee that provides a roadmap as to what to expect while you have that employee-employer relationship. So I think I did a little bit about my introduction. We'll talk about reasons for having a handbook, and then I will leave my contact information at the end, and then we'll wrap up. And then, like I said, you're free to ask me any questions, comments, or concerns you may have. It does not have to be related to a handbook. It also could just be HR related, and I am happy to serve and help in any way that I can. I think I did talk a little bit about my background. So my consulting group is the Phoenix Group STL. It was created to serve small businesses and small nonprofits. I'm a certified diversity professional, a certified workshop facilitator, and I do have my SHRM certification, which is from the Society of Human Resource Management. And so I think that my life and lived experiences along with my education makes me well suited to be able to be of service to small businesses, because after all, your small business is a big deal, and if not to anyone else, of course, to yourself and your family. So what is an employee handbook? It is simply a manual that gives your employees a detailed overview of what your policies are for your particular organization. It sets clear expectations, it states legal obligations, and it defines the employee rights. It helps protect your business against lawsuits and claims such as wrongful termination, harassment, and discrimination. But it's also a crucial introduction to your business for your new hires. It provides insight as to who you are an organization, what your mission is, what your values are.
Leslie,
Perhaps the most important, yes,
Leslie, are you changing slides? Because I'm not seeing the slide changing. Am I in?
yes,
Okay.
really.
I'm just seeing just the very first slide still.
It says that I'm sharing in the slide.
As long as it's changing on your end, because it's not changing on my end. There it goes. There it goes.
Let's see. Let's do it. There you go. Okay.
Thank you.
Got it. We talked a little bit about what. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. So perhaps the most important aspect of your handbook is just the introduction to your new employees, right? And your company culture and how they will fit in, right? So there's an old statement that says people may not understand or remember what you say, but they certainly remember how you make them feel. And so this handbook is kind of an introduction to that feeling, making them feel welcome when they become part of the workforce, letting them know what to expect. It gives them a sense of pride and belonging. And it also helps the employee become more productive in a shorter period of time because they now have a better idea about your vision and your mission for the company and how they in fact fit into it and how they can contribute to that. So communicates and educates. Like again, it's a well-written one will communicate all of the responsibilities of the employee and all of the benefits of the employee, including time off and vacation and how to report their time and how to report maybe an injury. It also educates them on your practices and what you expect of management and how to report if there isn't a healthy management relationship between the employee and the manager. It also talks about available benefits such as leave, the FMLA Act, which is the Family Medical Leave Act. Or if you're creative enough as an employee, it could also stand for the Friday Monday Leave Act, where you can get attempt to get both days off each weekend. But at any rate, all of these are very important tools to communicate to the employee and to communicate your policies to help eliminate confusion and inconsistencies that may result in discrepancies in the workplace. It helps to ensure that the communication is consistent. One of the things that I will say about human resources when I am providing advice is my advice will always be consistent. It is my aim to make sure that it's consistently right. However, if it's consistently wrong, I'm going to give the wrong advice for every employee, right? Because what we want to do is to make sure that everyone has fair treatment across the board, that we don't want to leave any wiggle room for discrimination claims or inappropriate or mistreatment of an employee. So the handbook is very important in clearly communicating things consistently, right? And so if you have an employee ask a question about leave, then let's go back to the handbook. And what does the handbook say? Per the handbook, it says that every employee receives 10 vacation days. So therefore, it isolates your company for any type of litigation that may be able to bring up that Bob was given preferential treatment regarding time off versus Bill, because the handbook is what we will use to be able to consistently communicate our policies. It ensures and showcases compliance with federal and state laws, right? And so as a small business owner, it's always about insulating yourself from liability. And how do we do that? We make sure that all of our state, local, and federal laws are printed within the handbook and that you're following them. Many important laws to make sure that you include, again, is around the FMLA, around any type of military leave, around disabilities and or accommodations for disabilities, and any other government mandates that may exist. But the handbook also showcases your benefits that you offer: vacation, 401k, health insurance, whether you offer paid parental leave or if you offer paid maternity leave. This is often, as you know, in this day and age, it's about when seeking employment, what are the benefits? And so to be able to clearly communicate that to new employees, even before hire, may help one in convincing the employee to accept a job offer based on what you're able to communicate. And two, it also increases the possibility of retaining that employee on a long-term basis, simply because you've been able to articulate what you offer in terms of benefits. They can put their hands on it. They can compare it to anything else that's out there and realize that, yes, this is a good working place for me because of what's being offered. It helps defend against employee claims. If you've been here since the beginning of the presentation, from my legal background, it is always about protecting yourself, protecting yourself, protecting yourself. So protecting what you've earned. And so having an employee handbook and having everything explicitly written out insulates you from some litigation that may have occurred if you did not have it. It also provides the opportunity, if you find yourself in litigation, you've got material and evidence that you can provide to the court or to the attorney that is representing you that will substantiate your side of the story, that supports your side of what happened. So that is why it is so very, very important to have a handbook in place, because it helps to defend yourself and your company against employee claims. It provides information about where your employees can turn for help. Many organizations offer EAP programs, which is support and wraparound services for employees that may suffer from needing counseling or for mental illness, or maybe counseling around addiction if you're going to offer that. Maybe help with mortgage assistance and foreclosure assistance if they find their family in that situation. It also provides information around the EEOC and the Department of Labor. Those are two federal organizations that handle labor and union disputes as well as discriminatory claims. And so that gives the employee an opportunity to take the next step and have the appropriate information if they feel like if those matters need to be addressed with an agency as well. I would always suggest and hope that you have an open door policy within in your organization, such that if there's are these type of issues that arise, you're the first one to know about it. You can initial an investigation right away and begin to build a case file that could be helpful in DOC and DOL reporting. And so why it's so helpful. But of course, it's going to need your company's history, vision, your mission statement, and your core values. Again, a few slides ago, I talked about how that helps to welcome a new employee, gets them to see how they fit into the company's core values. Many employees are mission driven, and so there may be something in their core values that reminisces with them and resonates with them. And so that's what keeps them going every day to provide their best. And so integrity is a big thing for me. And so as part of a core value, if you have integrity your core value, and that is something that resonates with me, as a new employee, I see that and I'm like, this company is about integrity. I live my life model about that. These are my people, right? This is where I want to come and grow and glow and strive. You want to also make sure that you include your code and conduct of policies, working hours, dress code, the facilities information, privacy and security information. Again, all of the benefits that you offer, be it full-time or part-time employees, how to properly resign, what a termination process looks like, any and all appropriate anti-harassment policies and processes. And then finally, you want to have a page in your handbook that allows for the employee to sign or acknowledge that they've received a copy of the handbook. And then you keep that acknowledgement within the personnel file. It's okay to give your employee a copy of it, but keep that in, in the personnel file. What that does is if an incident arises, maybe because of the incident you have to terminate the employee. Employment and or for wrongful termination. About your employee handbook, it says it states right isn't allowed behavior by an employee. And here's also where this information was included. So these are the core organization. So I know, can you see, Adam?
I cannot see your screen anymore, but that's okay.
It says here there's one in the chat. Who can see your messages recording on? Nope, I don't see it. If you actually had a question in the chat, feel free to open your speaker and I will answer the question.
Leslie, I have a few comments and points to make, if I may.
Yeah.
Number one is countless times we have won unemployment claims because of employees not following our policy manual on being at work on time, notifying us of time off, and so on. So I do want to point out that by having a good policy manual and having expectations and rules on when employees are supposed to be at work on time and so on, when we end up terminating an employee because of that, and a few days later, a few weeks later, they filing for unemployment, countless times we have won that unemployment claim because of we had a policy manual and they clearly violated that.
Yep. And that's what I said. It's really great at insulating your organization, right? And so you were able to provide to that employment the handbook along with their acknowledgement of receiving it, and you were successful. That is really important.
And not to mention too, I mean, unemployment claims, if they're quote unquote fraudulent or they're not accurate, I mean, that obviously affects a business's rates, and so that can end up causing a business much more money. So that alone, you know, has been very helpful to us. And another incident that we had at one point in time in our business was we had an employee that got hurt on the job and never reported the injury. And it's very clear that he signed off on our policy manual of our protocols, who to report to, where to fill out, first report of injury forms, and so on. And so that has also, once again, helped us, you know, basically fight the reason why we terminated him. And it wasn't because of him becoming injured on the job, it's because he didn't report it to us. And so that was just, you know, that was like the third reason why he was terminated. There was other reasons prior to that, but you got to be very careful. I'm sure you can attest to this. If you do terminate an employee, you want to make sure that you obviously terminate them for the proper reasons, and that you have a history of write-ups and documentation of some of the things, you know, that they may be doing wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. And you actually put the nail on the head from the perspective of, I was going to veer off to that. And you said for write-ups and making sure that you have a consistent system on how you will write an individual up, and to make sure that it's the same. And so it may not be a bad idea to have 3 or 4 forms that you have. One maybe being a counseling form that we won't consider disciplinary action, and then the other one where you can provide disciplinary action. And then there should also be, if you're going to do it progressively, meaning that you'll start with a warning and then a verbal warning, then a written warning, and it escalates that way. Or if it's something that, you know, it doesn't have to be progressive. I think tardies are good ways of being progressive as well. But, you know, stealing money, not so much. Like, I think that's automatically a terminal offense, right? And so to your point, having the handbook along with those write-ups that are clear and concise, that reference the policy that's in the handbook, in the write-up, and then displaying what the employee didn't do and why it was a violation, and then ultimately determine whatever the disciplinary action is. And then if you get down the road and ultimately you have to terminate the employee, that also goes along with supporting your claim for unemployment and any other litigation that an employee may try to file. So they actually go hand in hand. That's sure. That's for sure.
Yeah, I just love telling about, you know, the stories of some issues that I've had with employees in the past. I mean, I'm not,
Mhm.
I'm not, it happens to me at my landscaping business as well. Once again, you mentioned dress code and policy
Mhm.
manual. We had an employee that did not like to have a collared shirt. So he would come into work with his uniform on. He would leave
Mhm.
inside of a company truck and go out and work for the day. And he would take his company shirt off and just wear a t-shirt. And then when he would come back, he'd put his uniform on, and he got caught doing that.
Mhm.
And once again, violating our policy. So that was a write-up for us. That was one of the other reasons why we were able to successfully terminate him. Because we had, once again, these reasoning behind it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's really
Yeah.
important. Like I want to stress to everybody is to document. And just
Mhm.
because you document something like you mentioned, it doesn't mean that they're necessarily in trouble. It can just simply be a coaching session,
Yes.
and working with them. What's your thought on employee performance improvement plans?
Yep, I think that those can be necessary, particularly if you have an employee that after coaching, you have not seen, coaching for a short period of time, you have not seen improvement. Even even if you've also done some disciplinary action, you still haven't seen improvement. I don't recommend that you allow a significant period of time to go past, like, within 30 to 45 days, right? If someone's really going to kind of get their act together and improve. Or maybe it's just an isolated incident where they've had something happen personally and they've not been able to perform as well because of that. But eventually they get past that. So yes, so I think with performance improvement plans, I think you should have a check-in with the employee weekly after you deliver the performance improvement plan. I think you should have outlined expectations along with deadlines for when you want those expectations met and or continued. And then I think that you should do a final wrap up after 30 or 60 days. I wouldn't do beyond 60 days, and then evaluate. And if there's not been a significant improvement, then I think you're free to move towards termination at that point.
You mentioned about employees signing off on handbooks.
Yes.
We have our team members sign off on handbooks whenever they're hired.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, annually, when we kind of do like a brief, spring kickoff orientation every year. Is that a good idea to have them sign off on it annually, even if there hasn't necessarily been updates to the manual, or is one and done good enough?
No, I think it is great to do it annually. One, because it serves as a reminder. Two, it also serves as a preventive measure. Perhaps there was something in the handbook that they didn't notice when you first were hired, but now that you've brought attention to it again. I also recommend that you have them acknowledge the handbook if you do any updates to the handbook, whether that's yearly or every 6 months, or you decide to add something new. I think all three examples, annually, upon hire, and after an update, are great opportunities to have it acknowledged.
Great. Leslie, I'm going to open it up to questions of our attendees and guests here.
Okay.
One of them came in from Brittany Castor. She wants to know if there is somewhere to find a generic handbook that you can build off of or customize for your business.
Yes, absolutely. So I believe Adam may share this live with those who have attended via email. If he's not, it's certainly fine. My contact information is there. Reach out, send me an email. That's a service I can provide for your company, as well as I can give you some guidance towards some templates that are out there on the internet. You have to be very careful with the templates. All industries aren't created equal. So you're going to also want to make sure that there are sections that are germane to landscaping that may not be included in a general handbook template, but absolutely happy to serve in that capacity.
Great. I'm going to open it up audibly, verbally, to anybody that wants to unmute themselves and ask you a question or two. Feel free to go ahead and do so. I'm going to repeat that one more time. If anybody wants to unmute themselves and ask Leslie a question, feel free to go ahead and unmute yourself now and ask a question.
Yeah, this is Colby with Cowboy Curbing. Um, we're just fairly small, getting employees. So, what's the best route of getting started with a employee handbook?
So I think there was an outline on one of the slides that talks about the things that your employee handbook should include. And so we'll start there. So do you have, and it doesn't have to be long, a brief paragraph about your company's history, a brief paragraph about your company's mission, as well as what your company's core values are. I'd say start with an outline of those. I believe it's 6 or 7 things there on the slide that I have that you're going to receive. And then from there, take a look at what is it that you want to make sure that you include, from safety measures to vacation to things of that nature. If you reach out to me via email, I can also provide that service for you in crafting one. It's fairly inexpensive, or I can also point you in the direction of a template. But I say to get started with you being a fairly new company, just to determine how you want to be perceived by your new employees. What's your company's vision? What's your mission? What problem are you trying to solve? And then go from there.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Colby. I appreciate it. Looking forward to hearing from you.
Anyone else?
Hey, Leslie.
Yes.
Wesley's Landscaping, Westfield, Indiana. I was just wondering, we have I think it's 16 or 18 page employee handbook. What is the importance of having someone like yourself review that, stamp it? Is there a notary, or is it just, we've had ours on file for the last 10 years and update it and get signed off on updates, but what's the legal ramifications of having someone outside of our organization sign off on that or approve it or bring it over?
Yeah, I think it's just more so of having a second set of eyes. I'd like to use Adam for an example, if he doesn't mind. I took a look at his company handbook recently. He's in Illinois. Legislature had changed in the state of Illinois around the allowable questions and processes when hiring or offering a job position to someone who may have a criminal background. And so there was a section in his handbook that I was able to redline what he should probably keep or do away with. And then I was able to provide him with the explanation of why things had changed based on this recent law. And so same for you. I will go through it, redline it. Sometimes I find typos. Sometimes I just find things that may not be 100% accurate for either your industry or your state. And then I can also provide suggestions as to what maybe could be added as a protection for the company. And so it's just an expert second set of eyes, so to speak. And I'm happy to provide that service if you're interested. And it's fairly, I think Adam will agree, fairly inexpensive.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Leslie, will you email me one more time the slides? I know I have them somewhere, but if you could
Sure.
Send them to me again so they're fresh in my inbox,
Sure.
as well as your complete contact information. I will send that out as soon as this webinar is done again.
Okay, sounds great. And then if you wouldn't mind, because I know you recorded it, can you send me the recording?
I will do so.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I, again, appreciate the opportunity and happy to help in any way I can.
All right, everyone. Well, I appreciate you all for joining today. I apologize that that some of the slides may have not adjusted on the webinar, but we will get those out to everyone. If you have other additional questions, feel free to shoot myself an email or Leslie an email, and we will see you all next time on our next up and coming future webinars. Thank you so much for coming today.
Hi, everyone. Have a great rest of the week.
Bye-bye.